In the quiet, cobblestone streets of an old European town lived a painter named Julian. He wasn't famous, not by a long shot. He was just a local eccentric, known for his piercing gaze and the uncanny ability to capture a person's very soul on canvas. Julian painted portraits, but only of people he met, people he claimed to have a connection with. His studio was a cluttered, dimly lit attic space, smelling of turpentine and old wood. Locals would whisper about him, some with admiration, others with a hint of fear. His portraits were too real, they'd say. The eyes, The eyes followed you. One day, a young woman, a tourist named Clara, vanished without a trace. Her last known whereabouts, she'd been seen chatting with Julian in the town square, captivated by his charm. The police, led by the perpetually weary Inspector Dubois, paid Julian a visit. It was meant to be a routine inquiry. Dubois, a man who'd seen it all, wasn't prepared for what he was about to find. Julian greeted them at the door with a calm, almost serene smile. "Inspector," he said, his voice smooth as velvet. "To what do I owe the pleasure?" He gestured them inside, his movements fluid and graceful. The studio was exactly as rumored, canvases everywhere, some finished, some just beginning. And the portraits, they were breathtaking. Each one was a masterpiece of photorealism. The subjects seemed to breathe from the canvas. Dubois's eyes scanned the room, landing on a freshly finished portrait standing on an easel. It was Clara. The likeness was perfect, right down to the small, crescent-shaped scar above her left eyebrow. But it was her eyes that made the inspector's blood run cold. They were filled with a terror so profound, so palpable, it felt like a scream trapped in oil and pigment. "This is the missing girl," Clara Dubois stated, his voice flat. Julian simply nodded, a flicker of pride in his eyes. "A fleeting beauty. I had to capture it." As the officers began a more thorough search, one of them let out a choked gasp from a shadowy corner of the studio. He was pointing a trembling finger at a large, dust-covered cabinet. Dubois walked over and wrenched the doors open. The sight that greeted him would haunt his nightmares for the rest of his life. Lining the shelves were rows upon rows of glass jars, each filled with a clear, preserving fluid, and floating in each jar, were two human eyes. A cold dread washed over Dubois. He turned slowly, his gaze moving from the jars back to the portraits that adorned the walls. There was a portrait of the old baker from down the street, who'd retired suddenly last year. A portrait of a traveling musician who'd passed through town and was never seen again. A portrait of a librarian who'd mysteriously moved away. For every single painting in that room, there was a corresponding jar. Dubois finally looked back at Julian, who was still standing by his easel, a paintbrush in hand, a slight, knowing smile on his face. "You see, Inspector," Julian said, his voice barely a whisper. "A photograph captures a moment. A sketch captures a likeness. But to truly capture a person's soul, you have to look them in the eyes. Their real eyes." He gestured towards the painting of Clara. "I told her I wanted to capture her essence. I don't think she quite understood what I meant. The room fell silent, the only sound the faint clinking of the glass jars as a breeze from the open window disturbed them. Julian picked up a clean canvas. "Now, Inspector," he said, his eyes glinting with an unnerving, artistic fervor. "Don't move. You have the most fascinating eyes. I simply must paint you next. If you enjoyed that little dose of artistic terror, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories that will keep you up at night. Thanks for watching."